Going to have a moment of silence.
Okay.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I want to welcome everyone here this morning. We're gearing up for another day in paradise. Hope everyone is getting everything secured, your outdoor furniture, everything that needs to be. With the clubhouse, it's going to be, according to Vince, they're going to monitor this, of course, and tomorrow, more than likely, all the doors here in the clubhouse will be boarded up. There will be no activities here tomorrow night or Wednesday, of course. All activities for Tuesday and Wednesday will be canceled because of the storm. Want to make sure that everybody stays safe. And please do not go out if you don't have to. If you're going to do anything, do it this morning because things are going to get pretty rough. And the gates, of course, will stay up throughout the storm. Public Works and Code will be on call as usual, 24/7. And if you're the only time, if you have a medical emergency, that's the time that you call 911. Otherwise, they do have a non-emergency phone number, God forbid if you need it. Right now, the board is working on a few projects. Linda Walls, our treasurer, David Henry, and a couple of the other board members will get into their paperwork. Okay, do we have any unfinished business? None. Okay, new business. David, on the forest mowing.
Thank you, Millie. So at our last board meeting, forest mowing was sort of a topic that surfaced, although that wasn't part of the original agenda item. So it felt like it was an opportunity for us to maybe bring this up and let's see if we can get some resolve around it. I put this on here for sort of a conversation, just participating in the meeting, listening to the conversation. Numbers were thrown out about in all kinds of interesting ways. And for me, I guess what I was hearing was sometimes when we're doing the forced mowing, sometimes the folks that we're trying to reach can't be reached. And it could be because of an emergency, they could be in the hospital, they could be out of state, who knows. But I felt like it was important for us to come up with a standard operating procedure for how we charge for forced mowing so that we can be reasonable and respectful to our residents that have those situations that unfortunately have to occur from time to time. So kind of up for conversation. One of the recommendations I am sort of putting forth for conversation is to say, maybe we, and we can pick a number, this is just my example. Maybe the first forced mow is, let's say, for example, $75. Reasonable, unreasonable, it certainly seems a lot lower than kind of what was being tossed around. And then from there, maybe there's a presumption that we're finding the member so that we don't have to do a second forced mow. But in the event that we don't, my recommendation was maybe it doubles. And it doubles again until we can find somebody to take care of it. But again, that's an idea thrown out there for conversation. So that's what I'm pushing forth with.
Okay, David, according to Article 7, the fee schedule, the forced mowing charge was $300. I'll give you a copy of this because I have many of the copies.
Don't need it, thank you.
Okay,
I guess the question is, that I was trying to bring up is, we're all residents. Is $300 a reasonable number for somebody that's, let's say, for example, in the hospital and they can't get there to cut the lawn? To me, it seems substantial. Again, it's in a fee schedule, so maybe we need to push a motion forward to the next meeting to change that number. But I feel like I think we just want to try to be respectful for those that maybe can't make it happen. And can, sort of being punitive right up front. It could be something that escalates. Those are my thoughts.
Also in our rules and regulations, section 14, rates, minimum of 100 are at rates specified. They've got mower and trim, $35 an hour, and different rates for what they do. So we need to look at all of that before we make any changes.
Yeah, I think that's, thank you for bringing that up. So it already seems like we have a couple different numbers we ought to be looking at. I cut my grass as necessary and I can do it in about 30 minutes. Maybe I walk faster than most. I don't have a riding lawnmower or zero-turn mower. I don't have 2 lots. But just, I think we should try to come up with something that's reasonable for our members.
I believe that this is another example of the rules and regs, the bylaws, the SOPs, they conflict with each other. So therefore, we need to take a hard look at them and make sure that they're updated, they're filed appropriately with the county, and that they all intertwine well and work together versus conflicting with each other all the time.
okay, anyone else? Jane, Roberta, Richard? Okay. Now we go on to, no, we don't take any motions or anything. This is a workshop.
I guess maybe I'm a first timer at one of the workshops.
That's okay.
So you have to walk me
That's all
through
right,
this.
no problem.
So it feels like we want to walk away with a
Yeah.
proposed motion for our board meeting versus just sort of letting it sit and not do anything with it. So I guess I'm feeling like I would propose a motion at the board meeting to come up with a new rate that's reasonable to our members. So I don't know, I'm seeing a bunch of heads nodding in the crowd that a reasonable rate seems like it makes sense. So I don't want to turn this into an auction. But I'm fine with, as my example, $75 for first mow and doubling thereafter, or we can start at 50. Vince has his hand raised, recognizing Vince in the back.
Just so everybody knows, when we go out into a forced mow, I'm not cutting 2-inch grass. I'm cutting 2 feet of grass. Just so everybody knows that when we propose this, because the machinery that I have is not a push mower. It's a 6-foot deck that's roughly good, 55 to 60 horsepower behind it. And it costs a lot of money to maintain it. I'm just proposing that because when we go to a forest mow, we're not just cutting every 2 weeks or stuff like that. Sometimes it's might be 2-3 months of growth.
So I guess maybe that's a follow-up question I have for whoever makes that decision of what's a forced mow. What's the height?
12 inches.
So 12 inches isn't here.
But by the time we get the letter, it might be 1.5 to 2 feet tall in some areas, and plus when you have to go weed whack these properties, okay, sometimes you're dealing with 3-foot tall weeds. Okay, so just bear in mind when you guys
No, I appreciate that.
look at, keep all that in consideration.
Yeah, and it does seem like at the last meeting, based on the motion that was passed, you're not mowing big empty lots. And so hopefully there's less wear and tear overall.
Right, and then when you go to a forced mow on some of this stuff, it doesn't take, we went and cut the lot over on Sandhurst the other day. I think, Pete, you noticed it, all right? It took us, I had to go get my big mower, then I had to go and get another mower to mulch everything up. I mean, weed whack, blow everything off, and then pick up probably 2 or 3 bags of grass, okay? And it all costs money. It's all hours in maintenance, okay? When we go through maintenance and stuff like that, it's 3 times the amount of pay.
Sure, I understand.
Just you got workers' comp, you got all that stuff going on in there, and that's where our rates come from. That's where a lot of this stuff comes from. How much it costs us as an organization to do this work. Just
I appreciate the feedback.
All right.
Thank you.
thanks.
Robin? Well, yeah.
I got it, it was a little greasy. Robin Napier, Unit 3. Why do we do it? Why don't we contact a company and say, hey, we got a one on such and such address, go over and mow it, what's your bill? Why do we use our equipment? We use ours for our property, you know what I'm saying? So, for him to say that he's gotta take all that stuff over and he doesn't have the right equipment and, it just seems so much easier to call a company that does it all the time, have them mow it.
Excuse me. I know, but they have to wait till the end of the meeting for members' comments. We're trying to get through to our thing.
My mistake. Sorry, my mistake.
Test. At the county level, I worked there for many years, and we used to send out for bids to have lots mowed. Oh, I'm sorry. Frank McDowell III, Unit 6, Raleigh Avenue. Born in Atlantic City. Is that good? Okay. We used to do overgrown lots. We would send a notice to the property owner, whether it was vacant or occupied with a home, and give them so many a month, 30 days to correct it. If they didn't, we put it on the list to be mowed, but we would also put bids out for contractors and have one contractor for the entire year. And we'd give him a list. These are the lots that need to be mowed. So you know exactly what he's going to charge when you send these lots out to him. It's not that difficult. You add that into the charge of the lot mowing plus whatever the brokerage fee might be. And it can be turned into a lien at some point. I don't know if y'all want to head in that direction or not, which is more cost, but that's, the county used to put liens on the property if they weren't paid in a certain amount of time. And that lien sat there until it was satisfied. So just food for thought.
Sandy?
Sandy Lewis. Sandy Lewis, Unit 1. My question is, if code enforcement is driving around the community, every day, then why does a forced mow get up to 2, 3, 4 feet tall before something's done? I mean, they drive around all night long, they gotta see that the grass is tall. Why does it take so long? That's my question. Nobody knows? Is there a procedure then? What is the procedure for a forced mow? What's the first step if you're gonna do a forced mow? And from beginning to end, how long does it take before it's actually mowed?
We give the resident an opportunity.
Okay, so what we do is we give everybody an opportunity to take care of their own lawns, okay? We find it, like, we'll see someone's yard that needs to be mowed, we'll send them a notice, or we'll call them up. And sometimes we find out that they're away on vacation. If it's not that bad, we'll wait till they get back. It's not that bad at that point, we'll wait till they get back. Sometimes we find out that, and they do take care of it, but there's times where we find out that the resident is in a hospital or in some kind of healthcare where they need rehabilitation or something. They fell down. We don't know about this. So here we're trying to contact the property owner and we can't get through to them. Meanwhile, the grass is growing and growing and growing. So if we are, and again, this brings back to nobody to contact if something happens to you. There's a lot of residents here that do not have emergency contacts. And I emphasize this very strongly. Everybody should have an emergency contact. Getting back to what I was saying, so we try to contact people. Most of them don't have emergency contacts. So what we do is we turn around and we do a forced mowing. We give them a call, we leave a message. That constitutes as a phone call. They have 5 days to comply. If they have not complied within that 5 days, then we go down there, first we take a picture as well. Then we go back there on the 6th day, we take a picture again. If it hasn't changed, we take that photo along with a notice to Vince, so we put it in his bin. His people go down there and they will do the forced mow. Okay, they will take care of it. Now that bill goes to the property owner, of course. Sometimes the property owners just let it go because they just don't care. Okay. You have to understand, we are code enforcement. We're not the police. All right. We don't give people speeding tickets. We don't pull them over for speeding, and we are code enforcement. All right. If you have an issue that you feel that necessitates that you might feel fear or something like, you need to call the sheriff's department. Call 911. Then call code enforcement. Because at that point, we will go down and we will assess what's going on. We'll watch them. If there's somebody out there, whatever, we'll watch them until the sheriffs get down. Once the sheriffs get there, all right, we give them a report as to what we observed, and then the sheriffs take it from there. You have somebody peeping in your windows in the middle of the night, don't call us, call the sheriff's department. Okay? Because at that time of night, through 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, trust me, they'll get there quick. Because they're not sitting at Dunkin' Donuts because Dunkin' Donuts is closed. So, but they will get there, but you need to call the sheriff's department. We can't do that. We can't go to your house and stop somebody, if he's there, no, I know, but I know I went on to another part of this, but as far as the grass, I explained what the situation is with the grass, Oh, you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. My grass in 2 weeks grew longer than what I expected because I didn't mow it last week. So I mowed it the week before.
I have a comment from Jerry Kraft, Unit 1. She wants to know why there's only 5 days given. All other violations, are there only 5 days?
Because that's what's in the rules and regulations. It's in the bylaws, states that we must give everybody 5 days notice. Okay, when it comes to the forced mows. When we give a violation out to somebody for anything, including grass, we give them a 14-day compliance. On the 15th day, again, we will go and take a picture, and then we will send a notice of violation out to them. They get fined then at that point after the 14th day. Then the fines can go up to $100, up to $1,000. After that, it goes to the attorneys. Once it goes to the attorneys, it's out of our hands. Once we send a violation, basically, it's out of our hands. So people come to us, why haven't they done this? There's only so much we can do legally without overstepping the law.
Thank you,
All right.
Peter. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So there was a recommendation on the floor to consider contracting out that mowing aspect. I think that's a good idea, and I'll put that into a proposed motion for the next meeting, along with the example I set forth. And Vince, love to get together with you and learn a little bit more about your capabilities, but
I would take care of a month's notice for the 2 or 3 months that grass is, we contract it out and bill the owner. If they're in the hospital, if you bill the owner, they're gonna contract, they're gonna get.
She needs to be at the podium when she's speaking.
what's that?
She needs to be at the podium when she's speaking.
Got it, thank you.
Sorry.
All right, let's go on to the next board agenda topic. This is for the concrete at the tennis courts. Linda, I'll let you take that over.
Tennis courts. Those that play tennis and pickleball, you know how bad it is out there. Millie and I don't remember if Arlene was with us, went out back this spring and looked at the tennis courts. They have problems out there. Not so much the court, but the sidewalk going in, the retaining wall that holds back the dirt. This has been neglected for years. It needs to be done. Vince has gotten 2 bids.
Sorry.
One from Hooper's for $24,900. One from Lakewood Concrete for $36,600. We didn't get a third quote due to the vendor declining to bid. No, this was not a budgeted item in 23 or 24. The funds for this will come out of the reserve account. As far as permits and any additional fees, Vince is shaking his head no. Okay. I make a motion. This one it was supposed to be on the agenda for our last BOD meeting, and it wasn't.
So you gotta wait. So you should wait for the next meeting. This is a workshop,
I know it's a workshop.
so you shouldn't be voting on anything.
What about all the other times the boards have voted on things at workshops?
Let me just add something, okay, so
Business meeting.
back in 2019 and 2018, you voted on a pool being renovated at a workshop, you voted on your budgets at workshops, you voted on suspending accounts at workshops, you've done so many different things that won't. This workshop is also a board meeting, just so you guys know, even though it's business related. It's a little bit different, just so everybody understands. It's a little bit different because people don't have to sign up and make for a comment. Okay, you can go up to the podium and you guys, up to 7 of you, can listen to them, their opinions to whatever decision you have to make. They have a voice at this meeting to whether or not they like it or not. But it's still a business meeting. Okay, and you do vote on certain things that come up. So,
we're also supposed to have discussion before we vote on it.
yes, you all discuss on it, just a normal motion, you get a second, a third, and you discuss on it, all that stuff, and then you guys, if you want to bring it to the audience, then for them to chime in, go ahead, and then you guys make a decision.
I have a couple of questions for you, Vince, regarding this, these 2 quotes.
I'm sorry. First, we need the motion, then we need the second, then you can discuss it.
You need a mic.
So just so I'm clear, as a new board member, I was told we don't do motions here. So I prepared my meeting, I prepared for this meeting without doing motions. So are we changing the rules, or what are we doing?
No, we're not changing the rules, but as Vince indicated, it's a business meeting. So Linda was making a motion, somebody can second it, and then we can discuss it.
Thank you.
I make a motion to approve Hoopers to do the work at the tennis courts. Do I get a second? $24,900.
I'll second.
Open for discussion with the board members.
So, thank you for that invite. Catherine and I walked the space yesterday, and I do have some questions and would prefer to meet with Hoopers before they do the work. They were 47% cheaper than the other one, but I would like to just, their quotes seem to leave some question as to what they're actually going to do. And so I would prefer that we meet with Hoopers just to review their quote one last time, since today is the last day that their quote's good for, before I'd be comfortable approving it.
I also want to ask you, Vince, we do have a dirt area there. Is that dirt area going to stay there, or is that going to become concrete? That's not a huge area of concrete. I had a driveway put in that's for my garage, and that's maybe half that size, I guess, for like 5,000. Okay, so I'm thinking, I was surprised to see this. I was thinking 10, 12,000 maybe. It just seems very high. And
Are you talking about under the overhang or away from the overhang?
I'm talking under the overhang.
Okay, so under the overhang, you have all the tables and all the pavers.
Right, so what
Okay,
else?
now you have to excavate roughly 4 to 8 inches down. Okay, you gotta build up the retaining wall, gotta remove the fence, gotta get rid of all the debris, which is gonna go over by Midmore. Okay, you have a lot of prep work that you don't do here than you do on a driveway. There's a lot more prep work. You gotta get rid of all the stones, you gotta get rid of all the tables, you gotta prep it.
I had a tree to get rid of.
Well, there's $2,000 to get rid of the tree. All right, so everything is a cost. So,
Is the dirt all gonna be removed from there then? All the dirt to the side of.
we're trying to make it to where we're
That
trying
dirt's
to,
gonna come right back down on the court. So if that's.
if
not
you,
gonna
if you
be
read
part
the
of it,
quote,
if that's not-
if you, Rich, we're building a curb along the fence line. The fence is gonna be removed for this portion, okay? The curb is gonna come up to the grass as you see it coming down. There's gonna be a wall coming down, so the dirt can't come onto the concrete. That's the biggest thing here, that we have a safety issue out there, slip and falls, people scraping their, water out, and the dirty water getting all over their equipment and stuff like that. The whole corner is gonna be reworked, so with all that dirt and everything coming in the corner, you're gonna have a curb along the fence line going all the way down, probably 20 feet, okay? Up high, so where the water will drain away from the tennis court, and the same thing up on top as you enter in. All that will be reworked with brand new concrete, sloped down to where you won't have any infiltration of any dirt coming off the sidewalk.
So you're basically saying that dirt area with the grass and
That's all gonna be gone. That's all gonna be gone. It's all gonna be curved up, and you'll be able to put benches. I mean, there's things here that are in play for future use, okay? The reason why we're trying to flatten that area out, so we can put an extra overhang over there, maybe a year or two, and then overhang on the other side, maybe later on, okay? This is what they're requesting. This is what I was told to quote, to get everything done, so whatever they're requesting, okay? So you were there, Rich, you were there in the conversation with all the ladies there, and last year when we were talking about doing all this, and to make sure that, you know, the pickleball and the tennis group are happy throughout their play without being in the fear of getting hurt or their equipment getting ruined.
Vince, thank you for that explanation. I don't know that it was clear to me that there was future use potential as part of this quote, so therefore, that was my opinion.
Right, and
When I
that's,
walked it, hang on, when I walked it the other day, I would agree, those pavers that are stacked and odd, those are not appropriate. And those wooden benches aren't appropriate. But there's also tree stumps behind there. Is that part of the project? Because that's also a slip and trip hazard.
the Public Works is gonna be taking care of that.
Okay,
Okay, I've already got, when all this is being going on, all that whole back area will be reworked. And, we also putting in another wall on the back side of that fence line and getting rid of all that dirt below the concrete, so it doesn't have any infiltration in the back corner. These are all issues. Wherever you see black it's an issue that's gonna be addressed, okay? And, you know, engineering, there's no engineering. All the way around the perimeter of the concrete on the front would be 8 inches thick. That's so we're doing that because in order to put something on top of that, you need to have it 8 inches thick. So everywhere along that area, okay, along that flat pit piece on the concrete matching up to the tennis court will be 8 inches thick. So we'll be able to bolt down any structures that we have come overhang later on. So everything's being thought of and reworked into this to make sure that we have we don't have to sit there and cut concrete later on.
I appreciate that. And maybe I can walk the space with you, not necessarily today, maybe not this week, but I'd like to walk that with you. Because the other thing I also noticed, there was posts, wooden posts, that have electrical devices from timers, the lights and
That's all gonna be
extension
moved.
cords. I know, I just don't see that in the quote where it's cleaning all that up, including the
That's-
water fountain.
They're not doing that. That's
Okay.
us.
That's why I have questions, and that's not clearly defined in the quote. So I agree, something has to be done. That quote doesn't
That quote,
articulate everything you've just said.
that quote is only for concrete. That's not anything doing with us, with Public Works and or the clubhouse staff. That's totally separate. It's once we do what we're gonna do, the timer comes out, we move the wiring back so we can put the timer on the outside of the fence, things like that. All that would be cleaned up. The irrigation that's out there, that'll be moved away, okay, temporarily, and then put back in, okay? When you get a brand new, water cooler, because the one out there it's several years old. And also, there's an electrical outfit out there that has to be also moved also. So all these things are gonna be reworked once we get into this project.
That's all very helpful. It just wasn't clearly defined in the information on today's agenda. So hearing what you're saying makes a lot of sense. I think it'll make it a much nicer area. So again, I'm not trying to not have a safe, clean space. I just have bigger questions about the overall scope of the project. So thank you for that update.
Yeah, Vince, I would have liked a nice drawing of, how it was going to look finished, basically. And there's nothing to really relate other than reading, this print. It just doesn't define it well. That's all.
I'm pretty familiar with AutoCAD, but I can't do a rendition.
Well, I think that the difficulty lies in the fact that when I had work done up at my house, they gave me a clear defined plan, and I knew exactly what I was paying for. And if something looked like it was off, I could go to them and say, excuse me, this is not what was on the document. It wasn't in the print. I think when you're reading something and you can't visualize it, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Not to me anyway, I can only speak for me. If it's not done in some sort of pictured format so I understand it, I can hear you all day and I think they're great ideas. But the bottom line is, if we're gonna file something and pay $25,000 for it, I wanna see it. I wanna know what they're doing, and I wanna know that we can go back to them at some point and say, hey, look, this is what you said you were gonna do. Or just congratulate them for doing a great job and say, I'm great, I'm glad that you kept right to the plan.
Each one of the contractors, when I had them bid it, okay, I gave them a stack of pictures. and I had wrote out what we're doing,
Right,
okay? And that was supposed to be in your agenda items. You're supposed to have a stack of pictures of what each one of these scopes of work done, A, B, C, D, and E. Well, I'm
No
done.
pictures.
yeah.
And all you do is give me a call, and I would answer any questions you guys have.
Great, and is it possible for us to be able to get together with Hoopers and talk with them? Maybe get a more defined plan and bring it up at the board meeting, which is a few weeks away? I mean, is that something that can be done?
What do you mean a more defined plan?
Well, I mean, can we get some sort of printed, some sort of a drafted copy of what they're gonna be doing? If they're looking at pictures and they're saying, we're gonna do X, Y, and Z, I would think that it would be in a formatted plan for us to be able to look at and say, oh, that's gonna be.
So you want an engineer drawing?
No, I don't think we have to have that. I'm not looking for,
No.
the back of a bar napkin on pen. But they can certainly do it on 8.5 by 11, even if they just use a ruler, just to give us some ideas of what the work is done.
Correct.
Well,
I mean, I would appreciate that.
Just a rendering so we know what it's gonna look like.
okay, so you guys have been out the tennis court?
Yeah.
Okay, so you know the lower half? You walk down there? When you walk down there, you get where all the table, the chairs and everything are stacked right now, where they keep all the pickleball nets. That's what it's gonna look like. Basically all the way almost to the fence. There's only gonna be one level, all the way across, all the way down.
Vince, just trying to respect our time. I don't know, I'm not sure we have to actually make a motion today. I don't know why waiting 3 weeks would hurt.
Because we got people coming back expecting this to get done.
Excuse me?
You have people coming back expecting this done. And,
So fast is better than good?
well, I don't know about fast, I don't know about that statement, but I mean, the people are more than qualified to do the work.
They've done work in here for us before and have always done a good job. We got the snowbirds coming back. There'll be a lot of people out there playing tennis. I've been out there. It's a safety issue. You need to go out there, Sandy, and look at it. They have to go out and clean the dirt and sand off the courts every day because it's just washing down, eroding away.
Excuse me.
It's something that should have been done years ago that wasn't done. And our residents, it's a safety issue. It needs to be done.
But 3 more weeks isn't gonna make it or break it, and if it's that much of a hazard, there's no reason why, until the decision is made, that we can't rope off the area where they sit, because it's not being utilized anyway.
What was that like a safety hazard? Let's just shut it down.
At the mic, please.
Okay.
Jackie Cornwall, Unit 4. If this is such a safety hazard, why has it waited this long to have anything done? Have we worked with both of these contractors before? One is a third less than the other. Why? It scares me. We had that kind of a problem when we were doing floors in here. We had no performance bond. We ended up with a mess. Let's not ruin this tennis courts just because we want to get it done before a lot of our people come back from up north.
Is there any other comment on the tennis courts?
Yes. Oh, I gotta go to mine. Hold on.
Cindy Seaver, Unit 1, also president of the tennis club. This was supposed to be done a couple years ago, and it was approved, at least from what I remember, and it never happened. And then last spring, Jim Westbrook came out to the courts, talked with pickleball, and tennis and said it would be done in May. Okay, now it's September, and I know we have 20 to 30 members coming back for the fall. I know pickleball has way over 50, 60 players, 80 players coming. And I've been on my hands and knees trying to fix the pavers myself. My husband comes and blows off the courts frequently because of the sand eroding down. And this just, the other day we had guests of residents playing tennis, and they were knocking sand off their shoes. We get sandburrs from that green area. It needs to be fixed, and I'm sorry. I trust Vince. I'm gonna throw this at you, Vince. Him and I have discussed it. I know he's discussed it with pickleball also. It needs to be done, and we need to stop putting it off. It just needs to get fixed, and people who come to visit are gonna see that mess out there the way it is now, and they're gonna say, ugh, what else in Brookridge is crappy? Because that's what that is, and it's been crappy for years. It needs to be fixed. And I appreciate any and all of your support on this. Thank you.
I have another question for you, Vince. If, we were to vote on this and it was to be started, how long would it take for them to do it? Because what it sounds like to me is the tennis courts would have to be shut down anyway, because you're doing, it looked like from the walk-in all the way down, so you can't have people in the way of workers, tennis balls and pickleballs going into the cement area while they're working, and that would be more of a safety issue. So from start to finish, did they give you a time frame?
It'll probably take 2 weeks, but there are back gates where you can walk around and use the other side of the court.
You do realize balls go all over the place, you do realize when they're done playing pickleball or tennis, balls are from one
The
end
court,
to the other.
when they're working outside here, when they're going on the courts are shut down. Nobody's working, nobody's playing. So if they want to go over there at night and play pickleball and or tennis, I mean, there's nobody working. Everything's cordoned off. Everything's, I mean, you're not looking at stepping in a 10-foot deep hole. You know what I mean? So you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a concern of mine, because if you're gonna cordon off an area too, you're also gonna have like netting or something that's gonna have to be down there, so stuff doesn't get into that area where the work is being performed, if you're gonna let it go in on the other side.
Right, yeah, we'll barricade it off.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we'll barricade it off and things like that, yes.
Right, thank you.
Esther White, Unit 2. I just want to say that the longer you guys wait, because this has been an ongoing process, the money's going to go up. So, the cost. So you got to keep that in mind as well. Because David Henry just said that it is the last day for the quote.
Correct, and I think we could ask them to
So-
give us projection of if there would be a change over 3 weeks or 2 weeks. I don't think it'll go up that much. We're not talking about months, we're just talking about trying to get further clarification quickly to make sure it's done appropriately. Again, not assuming it's not gonna be done appropriately, just so we make sure we all understand what we're getting.
I'm Nancy LaShera, Unit 1. I'm the president of the pickleball. I have to totally agree with Cindy. We've been going at this for a while, and we were told we were going to be having it done. Yes, season is coming. We have a lot of people down there. They play in the morning, they play in the afternoon, they play in the evenings. We do need to make it safe for them because the sand is horrible. It's like a sandbox down there. So I just wanted to say, yes, we need it very bad. And we have been working with Vince and going over different things with him also. That's just all I have to say.
Nancy, stay there for a second.
Yeah.
So tell me, if it's done wrong and it doesn't take care of your problem in that, you're not gonna blame any of us on the board here because we approved it or whatnot, you're gonna be happy with it no matter what.
Rich, I trust Vince. Okay, I have worked with Vince side by side on different things throughout the community. And I trust Vince, and I don't think he would hurt us and want us to get hurt at all.
Is there any other, are we done with the tennis and pickleball? I have something that has been sent in, and it's from Jerry Kraft, Unit 1. It says, since this is a legal business meeting, I am respectfully asking, I saw the vote to remove the treasurer, a motion and a second, and a vote of 5-2. Previous board meeting, what happened? Sorry, but clarification is needed for the residents. Then we can move on respectfully.
Jane, I may make a recommendation that we just pause on that question that you're posing and see if we can't close this conversation on the tennis courts and concrete first.
Well, I'm glad you said that, David, because this is a workshop business meeting. Has nothing to do with the meeting of 2 weeks ago. If it's a workshop. Well, I'm so used to saying board meeting. It's a workshop. And we're here to discuss the different projects that are going on. And as far as that situation that happened 2 weeks ago, that's not something that's going to be talked about today.
How do you say that? How do you say that?
First of all, it was brought up wrongly to begin with. Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
I
I'm
believe
not
that
going to
there's-
get into.
I believe that there is a motion and a second on the floor, and we've had our discussion.
Catherine, I had the floor right now, if you don't mind.
And I understand that, but aren't we getting way off topic?
Yeah, we are.
have to
This is not
move forward
the
with
place, this is not
I
the
agree.
workshop to bring this up.
I agree.
Or in the future, let's just drop it. We've got business to take care of. There are more important things right now to be handled than what happened 2 weeks ago.
Okay, so what do we?
What are we doing here with this tennis court? Linda, you made a motion. I second it. We had a discussion. We have a vote. What are you voting? We're voting on to have the tennis courts finally taken care of, which should have been done a couple of years ago. If anyone has not been out there, not today, but I would suggest going out there and taking a look at what's going on out there, because I was out there, Linda was out there, I don't know, if the rest of the board was out there. But it's not good, and it's gonna get worse. It's gonna get worse where you're not even gonna be able to play out there. So how long are we gonna keep, beating this up?
Millie, just for clarification, we're voting on Hooper's quote of the 24,000 and change
Yes,
proposal.
yes.
I don't know if this is appropriate. I'll give you my vote, but I'd like to meet with Hoopers before they start the work.
Okay, that's good, yes, that's, Vince?
Vince, you wanna say what you wanna say?
I'll try my best to get Hoopers here at least till after this meeting so you guys can talk to them, okay? I'll try to get Mike here as soon as possible, but thank you, Mr. Henry, appreciate it.
Out of respect for both the tennis club and the pickleball club, I will go with your recommendation and I will approve it. But don't come crying to me if it's not done properly, okay? I don't want to hear anything afterwards. If we prove it, you live with it. Understand that. Thank you.
Okay, can we take a vote, please? Okay,
The only question I have is the weather that we've been having, if that's gonna hold up everything.
I
It-
mean,
it
I'm going
will.
to be able to start right away anyway,
Right.
because this storm is going to be terrible.
No, I mean,
So, I mean,
it's gonna take them,
But at least we could get things in motion anyway.
I have to get things signed
Yeah,
to them, dates prevented, put on the schedule, tonight. Once I have a scheduled date, everybody knows what's going on.
so it's probably won't start until 2 or 3 weeks from now.
Hopefully a week from now.
Okay, well, I'm just bringing that up so everybody is aware that.
I'm trying to be
this might
optimistic.
This might not be something that can be started anytime soon, just because of the weather. I
Right.
mean, we just had 2 major hurricanes
Right.
in 2 weeks,
That's right.
and they said this is going to be a really bad year, and so we don't know projected for the next couple of weeks what's going to happen.
But you know
what,
what?
Roberta,
know that
at least we'll get this approved and whenever whenever it's ready for them
And
to
that's
start.
fine, that's right.
Yeah,
But
that's
I
good.
did, I just want people to understand, we might not have it finished in 2 or 3 weeks because of the weather.
Correct. I hired a contractor. They were supposed to be here last Thursday, and due to the weather, they've booked me out now for 4 weeks. They can't get stuff done. They can't get the equipment they need. They can't get, the lumber. They said they are backlogged. So I'm out 4 weeks now and he can't promise that. So I'm just saying, it's not gonna be an easy, timeframe.
And fellow members, since Hurricane Helene, our remediation company has been backlogged now because of that. If everything would have been set in place, they would have started the day after, but we had to wait for our insurance company to come out and do their inspection and everything, which unfortunately, Hurricane Helene has put that on the back burner right now. So I want you all to understand, we're trying to get things done. Sometimes Mother Nature gets in the way of it. So just want to let you know that things are still.
I vote yes, as long as we get the information that Dave is asking for, I would vote yes.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, done. Thank you, thank you for it. Finally.
It was a good discussion.
Okay, the next board agenda topic will be computers. Linda?
As you all know, that comes to the meetings, I brought up the computer several times, that we need new computers. We need 16 computers. And we have 2 bids. We have one from our IT person, and then Richard got one from Best Buy. It has expired. He had 32 computers on there. I don't know why he had 32 on there. Do you know, Rich?
Yeah, well, I asked for options and I still am not happy with the quote. And because of, again, Hurricane Helene, we were supposed to, both Arlene and I were supposed to talk to Ryan Bruno, and he did send us an email and we were gonna have a Zoom conversation or whatnot with him. And due to the hurricane thing and everything, that got put on the back burners. Also, then I noticed that you had taken over basically again, and I saw this estimate from Fine Technologies, and we had not talked, and since we had no communication about it, and you were getting into it again, I didn't know what to do. I'm kind of confounded regarding it, because I I did not have everything firmed up with Best Buy Business. So if you'd like to go over things, we can go over them, but I don't have things firmed up. I don't have the answers that I wanted to get. So I'm not really prepared with this. You know, you do have it, but I'm not prepared to give this quote whatsoever. You know, so tell me what it is you want to talk about.
Well, I had an email said, why do we need new computers? The computers, if you knew the history and had been in previous meetings that I've given over and over again, the computers were purchased in 20 and 21. They're outdated. They have processors in them that are the 2013 processors that cannot be updated anymore as far as security patches, and we've outgrown them with all of the data and the software that we have. We bought 9 computers from TMH Technology Service for $12,000. All 9 of them had 2013 processors in them. Processors are 11 years old and can't be updated. Arlene's computer died last week. That was one of these computers. So we got 8 of them left. How soon are they gonna die like Arlene's did? What are we gonna do?
Your guess is as good as mine.
I know.
Regarding that. And what you didn't realize too, when those computers were bought, from my understanding, there was a contract with those computers where that TMH or whatever, actually was giving IT help during the beginning of when Jerry Foster, I guess, had those computers.
Carol Webster got the maintenance agreement. We paid $650 a month. That's if they could do it remotely. If they came in and had to do anything, we were still charged for that.
Right. And that also warranted the computers during that time, from my understanding.
There was no written warranty.
Right. But as long as they were handling through that contract is how it was explained to me. Now, whether it was explained.
There was no contract.
Well, then.
I've gone through everything from TMH. There is no written contract on that.
Okay, so.
And some of the computers here in the clubhouse are older than these, and the gatehouse.
Great.
We gotta get new computers so we can keep operating.
How many do we actually?
We need 16 computers, Rich.
Are they all that critical? If we've got 8 good MPH computers right now that can still suffice for certain, things that certain people are doing that are not critical, do we just throw them in the garbage? Is that what you're suggesting?
They're gonna be recycled. They go to the recycle center, he said. You want all of our data everywhere?
Well, you would wipe the drives and everything before you do any of that anyway, but, I don't know, maybe, Dave Henry would like to speak on how a computer setup should work.
So I do have, thank you. I do have a couple questions. Is this coming out of a current budgeted line item?
No, it comes out of reserves.
So we didn't budget these, and any budget line items we have in the 2025 budget doesn't include any new computers.
No, because it comes out of reserves, not out of our operating.
I'm not questioning that. I'm just trying to make sure that there's nothing in the budget today or any line item in our budget for next year doesn't include these computers, correct?
No, because it comes out of reserves.
Well, they could
It
also
doesn't
come
come
out
out
of
of
operating.
operating.
Well, they could.
The money's there in the reserve account to pay
Right,
for
I just
it.
didn't see a
It's a
line.
line item on the reserve account.
So it is in our reserve account on a line item.
And how much is in that reserve account, that line item? How much money is on that line item?
Great, thank you. So the other thing I was going to ask, and I'm glad this is just for discussion and we're not making a motion today. From my experience, there's a couple different ways that computers are replaced. You can either do a break fix, and then you have hot swaps on a shelf. So you're not replacing every computer all at the same time, because then you go through these secular sort of swaps. That's one way to do it. You can swap all these. It's unfortunate we got computers that only last 3 years, because typically computers should last at least 5 years before they get replaced. I went through the quote, and I think it's interesting that they've got 12 of one type and 4.
Right.
Hang on, I'm not finished. But I'd like to maybe get a little bit more information out of Fine Technologies to understand why they're recommending small form factor computers, which are significantly more expensive than the other ones. Dell Optiplex computers are great computers. I'd just like to understand his philosophical approach as to why he's recommending 4 of them at just under $1,200 versus the other 12 at just a little bit more than $600. So I'd love to carry on this conversation after the meeting. I think it's worthy of considering. I just have questions for Fine Technologies.
Okay, I have talked to him numerous times. The reason that we went with it before is because you got QuickBooks that Arlene works on. You got QuickBooks for Vivian. You got QuickBooks for the assistant secretary and at the front desk. Those computers need to be bigger. Their drives are bigger. And they would be compatible with each other and work better with all of our programs.
And I appreciate that. I deal with my computers all the time. So you can take that Dell Optiplex and add more RAM, add more hard drive space. Going to a smaller form factor just makes it more expensive because it's packed into a smaller box. I just don't know if that's necessary. But again, since we're just discussing this today and not proposing a motion, I'm happy to jump on a call with Fine Technologies to help them understand, have them help me understand why they're going this path. I understand super users, get it, but I don't know that that makes sense for us the way they've got it priced out. So I'm happy to jump on the phone with them sometime in between now and maybe the next meeting if you'd like.
I would add one thing that I've done a little research and have found out that going to some place like Best Buy, the computers are already a couple of years old if you go to Best Buy. So we really should get it from someone like our IT person, that can get them straight out of the factory so that they're fresh.
Any other discussion?
Well, the only thing.
Yes, Sandy.
Well, excuse me for a second, Sandy. The only thing is we're comparing basically the same computers from Best Buy and Fine Technologies, the same Optiplex Dell computers. So I guess the
reason for Best Buy, you don't know the processor, if it's a 2023 processor or if it's the brand new updated processor in them, because they're sitting in their warehouse. They're new, but we don't know the age of the processor, and that's a big factor.
Yeah, but there's another factor too. A Core i7 is a higher computer than a Core i5. So, that's another, we've got to compare apples to apples, the way I look at it. So that's only another thing I'd like to just point out.
Right, and we need somebody that's familiar and works on our computers, knows our system, and knows what we really need. Okay, Sandy.
Can you hear me? Yeah. The Sandy Lewis Unit 1. I just have a question. Out of reserves, you're going to take $21,900, supposedly, around there, to buy new computers. But then on the budget, there's 2 line items where you're budgeting $13,000 next year for computers, computer expense and consulting.
That's just for,
For what?
if we don't replace them and we have to have the computer IT guy come in more often,
Okay.
that is what they budgeted that for.
Okay, but if you're buying brand new ones, then you shouldn't have to budget
But-
that much money for.
But at the
Repairs
time
on
that the
new
budget
ones.
was done, nobody knew.
Well, this 21.9's been talked about several times for computers.
I know it's been talked about and talked about,
I know. So
but
the budget
nothing's
com-
been
The
done.
budget committee did know about it. They knew that it was. coming out of reserve.
But they didn't know if we were gonna get new computers or continue with the old ones. If they continued with the old ones, we don't know what kind of repairs and
But isn't that
consulting
like
fees.
double dipping? You're taking money, you're budgeting money out of the reserves for new computers, and then you're budgeting money for repairs and consulting. Isn't that like double expensing?
No,
Okay, sure sounds like it to me.
I'd like to also ask, now, do we have a contract with this new IT person? Is this new IT person gonna be our regular person, and we're paying them, so much? And
My apologies, Arlene Aaron's Unit 4. Yes, we do have an agreement, Mr. Henry pointed it out to me, with Alpine Technologies, and actually, he did send a new one, I believe, the beginning of October, which we are reviewing.
And will he be more cost efficient than $499 per computer for remote, IT repair?
I believe so. I believe in his agreement, he does have remote monitoring, scanning, and then there is I believe it's $5 charge per month per computer, just for updates, things. I'm not a tech person, so I don't understand it all, but he does have that in his agreement as well, yes.
Thank you.
Just because I just don't understand. But 21.9 is for just the computers, not for the agreement she was just talking about and the support and the whole 9 yards.
no, all of that comes out of operating. So that's what.
21.9 for 16 computers, that's it. And then the rest of it's gonna come out of the 13,000 that he budgeted for. Got it.
Yes.
All right. I think you should get some kind of guarantee or maintenance or something with those computers,
We will.
but not for the 21.9.
Well, he's only given us a bid for 16,000.
Oh,
21.9 is what's in reserves.
That's the amount in reserves. Yes, sir.
Frank McDowell, Unit 6. These computers that you're talking about replacing, do they have a lot of financial data on them?
Yes.
And what happens to all the financial data on the old computers when you get new computers? When you told me you're gonna
It gets wiped out once they
wiped out.
download it into the new computer.
So there's no track record for someone to be able to go back and look at finances on what we spent here, what we spent there.
No, that's why when they take them, he said that they completely destroy them. Everything will be put on the new computers.
It's backed up.
Yeah, the old ones will be destroyed.
But all the
But it
data
gets all
that's on
backed
the
up.
old computers will be transferred to the new.
To the
computers.
new computers.
So if there is a financial audit, somebody will be able to go back in and look at all the
Yes,
information.
yes. And I'm glad you brought up financial audits. I have done some research through prior audits. And I've always heard about double books in here. I know. This is something I just found. There were two sets of books in 2016. Yeah, but I've got it in writing now. I found it. It'd been going on for several years. And what the double books were was one for operating and one for social club activities. They recommended that these be put together. So that is why there was two sets of books. They were trying to keep the social clubs separate from operating, and the auditor said no. There were a lot of deficiencies, and anybody wants a copy of the letter, I'll be glad to share it with them. Okay, now to the gatehouse.
Jerry Foster, Unit 2. Seeing how you're discussing the computers, and my name came up, I gotta give some clarification on something. We bought 9 computers, correct. However, the service agreement with DMX or DMI back then did cover the computers. The reason the computers were bought was because Windows 7 was not supported no more. It was unsupported in January of 2020, not later. And as far as 16 computers, explain to me and everyone else where 16 computers are that are in this community, because there's only 11. So where is the other 5 going?
Okay, we have 2 at the clubhouse. Security has 4 in the gatehouse. 4 in the gatehouse. There's, let's see, Pete's got 1, Norma's got 1, Lee's got 1.
Didn't at least one get walked away with?
9. The front desk, Diane, Vivian, and Arlene. And the president's office used to have 1. And Angela, forgot Angela's. And the radar girls.
And me, I've got 1.
Well, then somebody's bought more computers in the previous 2 years than what was originally here, because that is not a true number. That number was not here in 2021. So somebody spent on bought computers and it never got voted on to add those computers. Because I know that.
You got 9, Mark Keller got 2.
Mark Keller got, all right, Greg's computer was bought from Mark, so was Carol's. But then we bought the one for Arlene's desk at that time, the one for Lynn, the one for the lobby, which didn't have anything on it except for the vendor books. We didn't buy any for the guard shack. There was 1 computer up here in Vince's office and Matron's.
There's also
There was
2
never one down in maintenance.
2 in the way.
I never said anything about maintenance.
Well, that number, you keep adding that number up. There was never one in the president's office at that time. So somebody bought that.
There's none in the president's office.
Well,
There's
there
none in the
was-
treasurer's office right now.
There was one, because.
I know at
saw
one
in
time
the
there was,
mail.
I don't know where it went.
As far as the two sets of books you just read, you're not saying that correctly. You're not saying that the two sets of books ended in 2020. You're making 2016.
That's when the auditor first caught it.
No, the auditor said it in 2021 in a meeting in here. When we had 250 people in here.
I remember that, Jerry. But it's been going on since at least 2016.
No, it's been going on since 2007. And it stopped in 2020. You're mistaken by saying it's 2016.
Okay, I have back to the computers a minute because he's been waiting. Anthony Langone, I asked him his unit number, he hasn't responded. I know I sound weird, but are they looking at more than one TV? Or are these computers they're talking about going to be under a gigabyte? I shouldn't have said gigabyte, I should have said TV. Terabyte.
Bigger.
Lots bigger.
That's a question. That's the question.
Somebody gonna answer that?
They're bigger.
1,000 gigabytes is 1 terabyte.
I think he's saying he's unit 3.
Okay.
So is there an external hard drive? Is that what we're looking for? Or are we just looking for more on per each computer?
My perspective is we ought to understand the need of the super users. So it sounds like there's 4 of them that have specific needs. I think we ought to talk to Find Technologies and to understand how they're addressing those needs and do we need that much space? I think there's probably need for more space. These don't seem overly built for what we're getting based on what's currently out there in the industry.
Okay, the gatehouse. Has anybody been working on getting any bids for renovation?
I went to Hernando Aluminum, Ferguson Construction, Mizuho Construction, and I'm waiting for bids back for Peter on a bump out that we discussed, that they have a drawing for, which I didn't have time to add to this agenda thing, so that these people won't have to go out of the guard shack anymore. It'll be safe, they'll be inside, the visitors or whatever will come right up, and they'll be able to get all the information they need, and it'll be much more streamlined and better. Peter, I believe you said you put out a bid for internal work. Would you stand up and go to the podium, please, Peter? Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, that would be for the bump out, complete renovation, and the split air conditioning, is what he said. So he would do the whole entire project. So I'm waiting for the bid back on that.
So hopefully we'll have like 4 bids by the time this is done, right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Various different projects that they would all be involved in, so.
Peter, who are you waiting for a bid from?
Ron Roll,
Ron Rule.
and he is licensed and insured, so.
And bonded?
Bonded, I don't know about the bonded, but that's what he said, he's licensed and insured.
Okay.
The next discussion is attorneys. We've had a few problems over the years with the present lawyer firm. And I contacted a couple that are HOA attorneys. They supplied us with their agreements to go over. So we need to discuss whether or not we feel we need to move on and get a new firm for our lawyers or keep who we've got now.
I'd like to ask, have we elevated our concerns with Becker above and beyond Steve? Meaning, have we given them an opportunity to understand the frustrations and the challenges we're having? Have they addressed it?
Can I answer that? Yes.
Please do.
Yes, will I have even louder, please? Okay, I'm sorry. I'm very soft-spoken, I've been told my voice doesn't carry, but I'll speak this way, so they hear me. So, as indicated, our attorney, Steve Messer, we feel, I think collectively, the board, the current members and past members, that he doesn't respond in a timely fashion. He answers maybe once a week, and I feel like he works on Sundays only, because Sundays you see his emails, and then if I email him back for clarification, I don't hear from him. And yes, I have indicated to him that I feel that, I realize, of course, we're not his only client, but sometimes we need answers within, a few hours. There is another gentleman that I got his number of, I believe his last name is Director with a K, and I did email him twice. And he is part of Becker as well, and I believe he's above Steve. I believe, Linda, that's what we had determined. But I have not heard back from him. So to answer your question, Mr. Henry, not really.
And how long was that?
Yes.
How long did you get in touch with him?
Mr. Director?
Yeah.
I believe that was, today's Monday, it was last Monday. Right. So I almost feel like he feels like, I kind of got the impression that our attorney is Steve, and, nobody else can help you. Sorry, you're stuck with him. That's just my impression, my opinion.
Can't hear you.
Can't hear you. My turn to say it now.
Sandy Lewis, Unit 1. Do you ever call on the phone, or you just email it and wait for a response?
No, I do. What it is, it's hi, you've reached Becker and Associates, press 1 for so-and-so, press 2 for so-and-so. And sometimes I'm lucky enough and I do get somebody that answers who's not very pleasant, as an aside. But then usually I say, hi, can I speak to Steve Bezer? And again, not too pleasant. And she'll say, well, he's not available. Can I get you his assistant? And I say, yes, of course. And I get their voicemail. So honestly, I don't think anybody picks up the phone.
So what do we pay our attorney?
Yes, well, we do have a retainer that we sign once a year, that's $250, and then it depends on how long he's billable. He's at $375 per hour, he bills in quarter-hour increments. So it depends, of course, how long we speak to him. If he sends an email, that counts as well, he takes that time. And then the other members are less, because they're either paralegals or whatever, but his rate is $375 per hour.
And Linda, you said you had a new attorney that you talked to? What are his rates?
Yes, I've talked to 2. Okay, the one, let's see, that's collection and demands.
While she's looking, do you get a statement every month from Becker Law saying what they have charged us for that month? Or how does it work so that we know what costs we're incurring with Becker?
Yes, we do get a statement every month, and then we do get invoices as well. So for example, we had to have a question about, our rules and regulations, for example. They bill that as an invoice, they put matter, they usually put BCPO business, and then it'll say, spoke to Director so-and-so 20 minutes, emailed with, GM 15 minutes, and it's an invoice. So yes, it is itemized each thing.
Now, did we ever send Becker the Spectrum contract to look over it all?
We did, yes.
And did we ever get a reply from them regarding it and a bill associated with that.
Honestly, he did not, the only reply he sent us was thank you for that. And then I believe, yes, there was something on the invoice saying reviewed Spectrum contract, 15 minutes.
And no result of anything saying it was a bad
Correct, no, he didn't say,
contract
yes, it's great, no, it stinks, no response, besides, we received this.
Arlene, do you know how long we've had Becker as our attorneys?
Well, I've been here, sir, since 2018, and we have had them since then.
So my 2 cents with Becker, I think we reach out to, I'm just looking at their website, there's a variety of key shareholders, there's a managing shareholder, office manager shareholder. It feels like we should give them one last opportunity to resolve their issues. I think we need to articulate with some data and facts the struggles we're having and let them know that we're hoping they can resolve this before we have to seek additional guidance elsewhere. You know, they're with us for 6 years or longer, so they have a history with us. Whether they like that history or not, don't know. But I think we should give them the opportunity to course correct before we go elsewhere. That would be my recommendation.
And I can tell you that I've reached out and I haven't had any issue at all. In fact, I've spoken with him myself. Normally it's Cynthia and Amber. I email, I attach it, I email him, attach it to both of his assistants. And I've gotten responses right away and I actually have spoken with him. So I haven't run into a problem where I've had an issue getting a hold of him, or at least getting some sort of response. So.
Okay, and on that note, I've also had a situation, and I'm still waiting for an answer on something that was addressed to him in that office at least 4 or 5 months ago on a case that we were working on, and I still have not gotten any responses on which way that we should go with this one case that was brought before the ABRC. And I'm still waiting for an answer.
And possibly I want to ask between Linda Walls and yourself, Arlene, when I see this Orlando Law Group and I see their schedule of different charges and that, how does that compare with what we're paying Becker at this point in time also, if you could answer that?
I don't know. Hello, they're right, okay. I don't know everything Becker does exactly, but to me, it looks about comparable. You know, I'm not gonna say definitely, but it looks comparable. Of course, too, some of the other things too, we have title search, eviction, things like that. The background check we do, so some of them do not apply. But we also do have Madonna Law that does our liens.
Does our liens.
Right, and our foreclosures as well, so we have to keep that in mind.
Arlene, I'm willing to and happy to assist if you would like some assistance in drafting, you know, sort of documentation you can provide to those guys and go, you know, sort of one last opportunity to course correct. Because again, I think they have a lot of history with us. Bringing in a new entity is going to come in with, I don't know what's happened in the past. Sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. I think in this case, having a little historical on some of the challenges we've had here is probably worth trying to hang on to.
And I guess another question I would have, would the Orlando group or any of these other groups also have the required courses that we need to take as a board member, which are free to us from Becker Law?
Sandy, you asked about the rates from the other lawyers. The one out of Orlando, $275 per hour for attorney and $130 for paralegal. The one out of Tampa, $300 an hour for part-time associate, $250 an hour.
Okay, go on to our next board agenda topic, which is the community communication strategy and image study. David?
So this is kind of for conversation, but one of the experiences I've had since moving in about 1.5 years ago is that it feels like we can improve on how we do our communications with our members, from websites to emails to posting. And so I sort of had a conversation with Arlene the other day even about the platform we use to send out emails and notices. So I'd like to start to look into that. Again, I don't have a proposed motion for today, but I'd like to help us figure out how we can improve our communication strategies. And even when I mentioned sort of the image, it's from kind of our web presence. We've got some things on there that aren't necessarily standard. It looks older, not that that's necessarily a bad thing. We don't want to forget who we are. But I'd like to look at that. I know we have a company, Shift Digital. I'd like to kind of have the authority to reach out to them and learn a little bit more about their capabilities for our website. We do need to make some updates to our website as of January 1st. And so I think that's an opportunity to just sort of look at how we make those updates and what they look like. And then even on the email addresses as part of this communication study, I guess one of the things that I felt was kind of odd when I first moved in is that we have community-wide communications coming from payables. I always thought that was kind of interesting. Our general manager sends out emails, and we appreciate your emails, but they come out as a recording at Brookridge. So it seems like we have some interesting uses of email, names, and addresses that don't seem to fit into sort of normal communications. And we do have a lot of new people coming in, a lot of them, but when they do come in, I'm sure they're looking at it like I do. And I raise my eyebrow going, why did I get an email from payables about a community-wide announcement? Some of those things seem like they could use some updating. And then again, just how do we communicate better with protocols, announcement timelines. So I'm not trying to belabor this any much longer than I have, but I think there's some opportunities for us to figure out how do we improve our communications and sort of our overall image to help our community.
A little history on their emails. Arlene has always been the recording secretary. And that's how she got that email address. And she's accounts payables. And that's why she has that email address. All of anything that's invoices or things, they all go to payables. Editor for Patrona, that's because she's the editor of the News and Views. That's how that one was set up. Yeah, it's kind of confusing, but you be here long enough, you get to know the history of it. And we just all lived with it and accepted it and know what they mean. Right. Yeah,
And I think it's good to with history, so thank you for that update. But some of these changes are not even something that costs us money to make a change. It's just about how do we present ourselves in such a way that, maybe that worked over the years, but doesn't mean that we can't change in the future to present us in a better light when we have new residents coming in. And much like myself, we looked at this community online before we moved in. Having relatives in the community was very important to us, but we came in thinking this is going to be interesting based on just how we present ourselves. And hopefully we get more, more interest in our community with the houses that are available for sale.
You also questioned the hurricane preparedness team. That's our code enforcement. That's Vince. That's the president, the GM. They're the ones we go to.
So I guess my question on that was, the acronym came out without an explanation. So I was just referring to some of the comments I saw on social media with people saying, what's that mean? What do they do? Who are they? What do they perform? So as part of our communication strategies, it's how do we think about what we send out before we send it out? so that we're intentional with what we send out, so that we don't just send something out that, unless you lived here for 10, 15 years longer, maybe that means something to you. But to me, I had no idea why I would call them or what they would even perform. So it's just trying to be intentional about our communications to try to help everybody understand what we're saying.
And unfortunately, the acronym went out wrong.
True. I caught that.
I have a question back to the attorneys, from Jerry Kraft, Unit 1. Do all board members have access to the attorneys? And who is interviewing the attorneys? Thank you.
Nobody's
The
interviewing
current.
any right now.
Well, who has access to the current attorney?
The GM, the president, who else, Darlene? The treasurer, and the first vice.
So to that point, if I have a question for our attorneys, I would work through one of the 3 or 4 of you to address my question. Great, thank you.
That is correct, yes.
I have another question, I guess, going back to attorneys and when you're saying, are all of our contracts being vetted by our attorneys? If it's something important or whatnot, do we not use the attorney to do that, to check our contracts?
I remember this time, Blair family. Well, honestly, in the past, we did not send him a lot of the contracts, but now that there's been more requests to do that, we have been, and, that it's so important, of course, once we put it on the website. So from now on, yes, every single contract, every single agreement, Mr. Henry, I'm not gonna forget that word now, we will be running it past our attorneys, either this one or the next one.
Thank you.
And my question is, I believe that we spent $10,000 through Becker in order to be able to do the updated rules of everything that had to be done by January 1, and was wondering if we had a status on that and how it was going, because there are some things that were supposed to be done by October 1, and I haven't seen them.
Like, I believe we haven't spent the money, I believe it was added into the budget, Ms. Linda,
It was budgeted for 25.
2025.
Okay, but this is due January 1st, 2025. So is he working on them, or should we be, moving forward to try to get them done ourselves so that they can be posted?
Well, here's one of the questions that he does not answer when I email him or call him. Is
Okay,
he
so-
and his team working on it? So, in my opinion, I think it needs to go to the community.
Okay, so the only response that you got was that they are working on it.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, very good, thank you.
A follow-up question from Jerry Kraft on this. In watching the meeting, it would be beneficial to have the second VP have access to our attorneys as well. Is this possible?
In my opinion, I don't see why not. Of course, that is a board decision.
I'd be glad to have access, happy to reach out to them, work with attorneys in many positions in my career, so happy to have that opportunity if necessary.
Once I return to the office, hopefully soon, I will reach out, I'll send an email, a call, and say, Mr. Henry is now our second VP, please accept any communications from him as well.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I'm on here for the next one. This is, again, up for kind of a conversation and sort of research necessary. So when I was working remote up in Georgia over the past couple of months, I found it very difficult to watch the online streaming board meetings. And so I'd like to work with Vince, and I believe, Vince, you have somebody you work with on your technology or for the clubhouse. But I'd like to just really research and evaluate what we have for technology for our live streaming, cameras, lapel mics. I've talked to Vince about this briefly, so I'd like to just do some research into our technology capabilities to see if we can improve those for our members that are not here and can't always be in person.
I do have a comment from Jerry Kraft again. At the beginning of the meeting, she said, when we were talking, she said the visual is very good and the audio is very good, that it's better than it's been.
Yay.
That was the first.
And you had down a web camera and TV for the conference room. We have those.
Agreed. I'd like to just look into those and see how well they work. I'll work on that on my own time.
Mr. Henry? Hi, Vince Pizza, Unit 3, I believe. We've been doing these workshops in here forever, and we first started introducing the camera system. I'd probably say it's 2017 maybe, to where it was just a standalone camera, and we would record it, and then we would upload it to YouTube. Okay, and then we had a Spectrum account to where we had our own channel 732, where we broadcast it live within the confines of Brookridge. Since that's no longer there, we have to go live with this. Yes, I understand. I brought this up, a couple years ago too, and sooner than that I'd like to get a nice camera system in here to alleviate this. Okay, towards mounting the ceiling, but it takes money and professionals to help me get this done. Okay, because I can't do it myself. All right, and same thing with the North Hall. We have a camera up there, but it's old because it's got the old RCA jacks, and with a lot of the new technology that we have now, a lot of this stuff you can't run long distances with cabling. Okay, and that's one of the hurdles that we have within the North Hall, is that it's the span from point A to point B. That's what we have to overcome.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And so without belaboring this any further, I'll connect with you offline and we'll see what we can do to look at
I mean, as far as lapel mics go, I got a few in here that we had, but the people didn't like them because they kept on. You can hear everybody breathe and things like that, and when I'm on there, that's the biggest issue with lapel mics. And I got a couple of headsets that we have, but just so everybody knows that when you buy one of these, okay, that's $800 a piece. That's the receiver, the transmitter, and the headset, and that's $6,000 right there for you guys to have headset. We did it before; they didn't like it. I had to return them all, and it's just the nature of the beast, we try our best with what we got, and want to try to improve on it. It takes money to improve on it. Like I gave it a quote for brand new microphone systems to where they're not directly in here. It's $16,000 I forwarded to Arlene, and it's like $16,000 for microphones. That's right now. That's to where I can sit there and talk like this and I can still hear me. Okay, but now I got to deal with this because it's direct line of sight into the microphone. It just all depends on what we want to try and accomplish. I'd love to have a different kind of system, but limited to money.
Great, thank you.
Okay, we're going to, David, do you have anything else on that? Okay. Next agenda topic would be Tillman Fiber Company / T-Mobile right of access. Linda?
Arlene and I met with the representatives from Telecom National Consulting Group and Tillman Fiber Company October the 24th. The initiative behind this is to provide another internet carrier that will run fiber optic cables with no cost to Brookridge for providing the residents with another internet carrier that has lower prices. Under the contract with Spectrum, we cannot bundle with any other internet provider, or the contract is null and void, and the prorated funds would have to be refunded to Spectrum. Brookridge has no intention to do a bundle agreement with T-Mobile. This agreement is just to lay the fiber optic lines in Brookridge so residents have a choice that they have never had before. The first step, if approved by the board, they will have their engineers come in to do a study. And once they get that study done, they'll bring it back so that the community can approve it. I asked about digging. He says, no, they've got some kind of machine now that just shoots it through. After the presentation, they did email me T-Mobile's rates, and I think having Tillman Fiber install the fiber optic lines for T-Mobile would be a big asset for our community, and hopefully the other board members will agree and Brookridge can move forward with this project.
I want to ask, will this affect our Spectrum agreement?
No, not at all.
The difficulty with that is that I reached out to Nicholas, which is supposed to be the connector for the Spectrum contract that Brookridge signed into. And there's some verbiage in the contract that talks about fiber optics. And it clearly states that you cannot use fiber optics. That would be null and voiding that contract, and we would be liable to repay that money. So I'm just looking for clarification from this Nicholas about this Spectrum, that one paragraph, and he has yet to respond back to me. So that's what I'm waiting
We
for.
need that in writing clarification.
Yes. Just to clarify real quick, it was September 24th, Ms. Linda, that we met.
Yeah, that's right.
The other thing I noticed, it says located at 7300 Brookridge Central Boulevard, Florida, and it says, which is commonly referred to as High Point Community Property Owners. That's not true. We're Brookridge Community Property Owners.
I did reach out to the gentleman from Tillman, and he did send me a corrected one that says Brookridge. I believe I emailed it to the board, and there is a corrected copy in your mailboxes at the office as well. They are also working with High Point, so I think he was getting confused. But we did get an updated one that did say Brookridge.
And my concern is, after we've gotten this money from Spectrum, I don't want Spectrum coming back and suing us for 5 times the amount of money that they paid us. You know, so I don't want us to enter into any type of contract that could put us in harm's way legally. Thank you.
I would also like to add that as I look at the Tillman Fiber agreement, if you go to item number 5, it says bulk agreements, owners represented is not currently party to any bulk agreements. And so we are party to bulk agreements with Spectrum. So I think this is one of those where we'd have to, before we go anywhere, just so we don't get caught short somehow, we should take this to the attorney to make sure they look at both agreements to make sure we are clearly capable of working with them, or we're clearly not capable of working with them. Because the fine print is what always gets us.
Yeah, because this would be a contract.
And also, Mr. Henry, where it says bulk agreement, I believe we did ask Nick this from Telecom Communication Group, and he says it's bulk bill, bulk provision. And we do not have a bulk agreement with Brookridge, with Spectrum. Like, it's not one of the communities, they do have, everybody has to have Spectrum. He explained that that is bulk, that we do not have. You can have T-Mobile, you can have a Dish, so.
Well, so when I looked at the Spectrum contract at the very end, it does talk about any other bulk-like systems. So I think what Spectrum is saying is they have the first right of refusal on the wire, and fiber's wire. And so, yes, you can bring in a cellular service, but they have an exclusivity agreement with us. And I'm not an attorney, but we have an attorney. I think we need to get clarification before we go any further with Tillman, just to make sure we don't get ourselves to the point where we have to pay back funds.
There's another comment from Jerry Kraft, Unit 1. Did we run this by our attorney? Please explain who advised you this is okay with the Spectrum contract in play. I think we've probably answered that now. She also wants to clarify that it's foggy. It is not, the visual is not clear, it's foggy.
That's right.
Okay, we'll go on to our next board topic. This is Jones and Company, Linda.
Jones and Company is our present CPA. They've been our CPA since 21. Affinity is the company that's doing the audit. And this is the first year they have done it. I don't know who contacted them. That was before I was on the board. Nobody had done anything with the 22 audits, so 22 and 23 are still being worked on. This engagement letter from Jones and Company is for the year 2024. They just finalized 2023, and we have a contract with them where they do quarterly reconciliation of our books. Nothing has been done with any CPA for 2024 on reconciling our books. So we can either accept their engagement letter, we'll go back to January and start working on the 2024 books, or we can look for somebody else and have them start. With it being October, we're going to get in the same situation we were in 23 if we don't get this engagement letter signed so they can start reconciling our books.
I do have a question. I'm looking at the affinity agreement, and that agreement was to do 2 years worth of audits, 2022 and 2023.
Correct.
Have they not provided either?
No, because 23, the books were just closed out.
So what about 2022?
So they're still working on them.
2022?
They're still working on it too. I don't know. Because the CPA just got everything to Affinity for 23.
Yeah.
Well, the finance committee and myself had to reconcile 22 and 23 because of all the mistakes. Then those were never turned over to the CPA by Jim after we done them. They were put in a box.
Who's our current CPA?
Jones and Company.
And what have they done?
Jones and Company,
Yeah,
they finally went in and got the books balanced for 23.
so we do have a balance for 2023
Yes.
and none for 2022 and not a redo of 2021.
2021 was a different company that did that audit?
Okay, but we do have that, correct?
Yes, but it's incorrect. And I was the one that found the mistakes on that.
But that's what I'm saying. Has the audit been corrected? And if we're moving forward and 2023 is done, but 2022 isn't done and 2021 wasn't completed appropriately, it was wrong, how can we move forward on a budget without having something resolved? And as of January 2025, January 1, our ability to be able to not have these audits in place could wind up charging Brookridge in order, some sort of fine in order to be able to address the issue and move forward.
Right, because we don't know if we're in the red or in the black.
Correct, but the problem is with the new 720s in place and the fact that they're holding the HOAs accountable for these audits to be done every year.
They're supposed to be done by April.
So why are we continuing to go with companies that haven't already completed what they stated they would do? Why are we paying them if they're not doing it?
I agree.
Okay.
So can I finish? Sorry, go ahead, finish.
No, I'm all good.
I guess I'm kind of confused because our CPA is Jones. We want to give them another letter of engagement, but it's up to the CPA to get the information over to Affinity so they can do our audits.
Right.
Correct? So why would we want to engage with a company, Jones, that can't seem to get the appropriate information to Affinity on
It's
time?
because the information that they got from our bookkeeper and our system was all incorrect.
So something isn't adding up right, but I can't figure out what happened to 2022. We're talking about 2023, but I don't think we should overlook like where's 2022.
The same auditor, Affinity, was hired to do 22.
So
And so.
Then we don't have either
2021.
one.
who's doing the communications with Affinity and Jones to figure out what's going on? Are you? leading
I
the
have been
conversation?
calling them. I called last Friday. They still haven't returned my call.
So
Yeah.
then who was responsible for 2021? Was it the same company? You said it was a different?
No, it was a different company.
Do we know who that was?
Yes,
Okay.
but I,
And who was that company?
yes. It's a real long name. I don't remember it off the top of my head. I got a copy of the audit.
Was that the company that Marion Story said had the same exact numbers as? they had
Numbers,
before?
yes.
So they basically copied the last.
For
the
two
previous-
departments I found, they copied.
So
Yeah.
they're useless also.
Right, that's why we didn't go, that's why they chose to go with Kennedy this year versus the other one, because, and I don't know why nobody went after the company that messed up 21.
Absolutely,
They were paid,
absolutely.
but they were paid before I discovered, and I was just a resident, I wasn't a board member. Residents are entitled to a copy of the audit. And when I got it, thought these numbers look too familiar, and I pulled out the 20, and
So why didn't you get an attorney to maybe backtrack and say, listen,
you'll have to ask that board.
so I can't ask that, we're no longer.
I know,
Okay, so the difficulty is that we are now facing 4 years, 5 years. Well, at any rate, we need audits that go back for quite some distance, and the new 720 regs that we are mandated to comply with as of January, penalty, and these aren't small penalties, people. I want it known that these are huge. They're not just little dings, and they will continue until the auditor gets it done. So whoever we put in that place is gonna have to be held accountable and responsible for making sure that we get the numbers. And how can we move forward with a budget that we don't have a clue what we had last year, the year before that, or the year before that? We
How can you
can't.
keep spending when you don't know
Well,
what you got?
because, we'll take it out of reserves. I'm
Oh,
sorry,
yeah,
I didn't
everything's
mean
out
that.
of reserve, yeah.
I didn't mean that.
And then you gotta put it all back, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No, you're right.
I would also recommend maybe Arlene, when we try to reach out to Becker, we ask them if they've reviewed both of these agreements, and maybe they assist us in communicating with those entities to figure out why they're not delivering on the agreements and contracts we have in place with both. Because it feels like people are pointing at each other saying, well, I've done mine, but I haven't done. I think we need to bring them into the mix.
And it's like, if you take all your receipts and everything to H&R Block or whoever to do your taxes and everything, but you left out a bunch of stuff, they're not responsible for what I left out, okay? You can only hold them accountable if they add everything up wrong and do everything wrong. If we're not giving them all the information they need, then shame on us. We
Well, when
gotta
I-
make sure that we're crossing our Ts and dotting our Is, because if we're lacking, we better get it fixed.
Well, when you sign on the dotted line with H&R Block, they'll say, we'll be responsible as long as it is something that you shared with us. If it's not, they're not held accountable for it, so you're not covered.
So why can't today, Robin Napier, Unit 3, why can't today you guys decide somebody can make a phone call and get the attorneys involved? That would be the number one thing. And from getting the attorneys involved, we need to also find out, why is it that 21 was not complete? And is it our fault? And if it's our fault, then maybe we should start looking at who's doing that. From 21 to 22 to 23 to 24 to now. That to me is what bothers me. I think this office that we have, and God bless you, Arlene, I know it's a hard job that you're friends with us and you run that, but business is business. If we can't get this balanced, how can we expect an auditor to get it balanced when they don't have what they need? It's a waste of
true.
time, a
Yes, it
waste of
is.
money.
Yes.
So we gotta figure out, who's the CPA? Do we have a CPA? I thought we did have a CPA. Don't we?
Jones and Company.
Okay, but that's now. In 21, we had someone else.
No, 21 is when they started with Jones
Okay.
and Company. They're the
So we need
CPA.
them and the attorneys. We need that group and whoever's in charge up here to say, this is what we gave you. What is it that's been excluded that you guys couldn't balance it? Or this is what you balanced to? Do we agree? Does our accounting department agree with it? If they don't, they should be working together, not year after year saying, well, this didn't get done and that didn't get done and we don't know and I wasn't here. And we've got a lot of people that need to start standing up and taking charge and just get it done. Just get it done, please.
Yes, but you gotta have these others that will answer their phone, answer their email, and return your calls.
I get that, but if it were me, if that was the only thing that I had to work on in the rest of my life, being on a board, I would say, you know what, I would have that phone sitting in my bed and I would be calling and I would probably be considered a harasser because I would want my answers. I paid your money. What is it that you're missing from me? What is it that I didn't do, or what is it that you didn't do? And if you didn't, then I'm going to call my attorney, Becker, and we're going to get on this. We're going to figure out how come I'm not getting balanced. What is it that I'm not doing? What is it they're not doing? One of us is doing it wrong.
Well, it could have something to do with the fact that since 2021, we've had Jones and Company, they want us to sign on this agreement, and we don't have an audit to substantiate what they've been getting paid for.
Now, are they getting back with us saying, you know what, we can't do the audit because we're not getting the paperwork in that we need to be able to do the audit.
Yes.
Okay, so
and
at
there
that
was-
point, that's our office. Our office needs to be getting on the track of what it is that they're missing and get it to them ASAP.
I have done
I don't
that.
think that a computer's gonna help them. I don't think anyone needs a computer. They need worker bees.
Right. I have sent him bank statements and everything else that he has requested. Mike at Affinity.
But what about Jones and Company?
Jones Company's CPA, they go into our system and assist Vivian.
So if Jones and Company, correct me, please, are they the ones doing the audit or it's
No,
Affinity?
Affinity's doing the
Okay,
audit.
so they're the CPA that is supposed to have all of the paperwork ready for the auditor, correct?
CPA.
So we're back 4 or
Jones.
5 years, and they haven't made sure that they got together with our auditing firm?
I know that they've been corresponding with this one.
Wow.
They might be sleeping together.
I don't know. Somebody must be.
I don't understand why it got passed off to Affinity.
It seems like every 2 years they had new auditing companies in here. I don't know why. 2 years and then, oh, we got a new auditor.
Jerry Foster, Unit 2. I can address the auditor part. In 2021, the first of that year, we tried to use the same auditor that did it in 16, 17, 18, 19, and for those years. They would not work with us whatsoever. They wanted no part of it. We had to get Becker to send them a certified letter saying we wanted that information from 19, 18, 17. They would not give us that information. Finally, they did, but they wanted no part of doing the audit for 2020. In 21, we got whoever it was that we had here that stood up here at this meeting, did the audit for 2020. He said in 2020 that we started out the year with $468,000, and we ended the year with 320, making us 160 short for the whole year of 2020. So my question would be, why didn't that same auditor get used for 21 in my year of 21? Did they switch in 22? Because I don't remember voting in 22 to change auditors. Did they turn us down, or what was it? And why are we with Unity now? Because we had.
Jerry, 20 and 21 were done by the same auditing company.
Okay, 2021. Well, then when we got the accountant that you're talking about now was the very same reason, because the accountant in 2020 would not give us the information. So we had to go change to Jones Company. If they switched it year to year since then, it's probably because somebody either don't want to do it or because it was messed up. Because the argument here that day when the auditor was here, people were saying, are you in the red? Are you in the black? Yes, the community was in the black, but we was in the red for 2020. And that's where those 3 line items kept being talked about at board meetings all the time. 3 lines had 3 things on them, 167, 32,000, and 30,000. That has never been reconciled, period. So that is where that comes from. And for people to say that that's the year that needs to be looked at, because that's when the book stopped. That's when the second set of books got stopped. So, as far as the rest of it goes, people don't want to touch it. Auditors don't want to touch it because of 17, 18, and 19, where they wouldn't give you information, and they pass it on whenever they talk to other ones. Because we had to threaten them with a lawsuit and everything else back then. And as far as Becker goes, Becker crafted the HOA, helped craft the HOA laws that are now on the books for Florida. Why would you want to go change? I don't agree with every decision he's made, but they craft them, they help craft them, so they know more about us in 720 than anyone else, I feel like.
Thank you, Jerry.
Can I say something?
Yes.
Alan Blair, 4. Are we in the red or are we in the black? Do you know? So don't you think we should stop spending until we find out what's going on?
Well, we gotta keep things running too.
Yeah, but we don't need a tennis court and a whatever court done until we get an audit. And it's
Right.
balancing the books. Balance the books, then we can play.
Find us a good qualified HOA bookkeeper.
Do you want me to? I will go out and look for one if you want me to.
We've been looking. They have to know HOAs and know to do accrual bookkeeping. That's what we're required to run.
So if you don't know one way or the other, how can you say we need a $4 raise?
Because they
It could be a lot more.
They started with a zero.
That's right, it should be zero, it should be nothing. And I hope a lot of people vote no, because you guys are just spending and you have no clue what's going on.
Wages are going up.
That's not it, you
Electric's
don't know what
going
the
up.
bottom line is, so how can you keep spending money? You wouldn't do that in your checkbook.
No,
No,
you want us to
stop.
shut everything down and
Do you want?
Don't threaten us with shutting things down, that's not right.
If we don't
Well,
pay-
it's not a threat.
If we don't pay the electric bill, what happens to the lights in here? What happens to our microphones?
Right, but I know what my bottom line is, you people don't know what the bottom line is.
I understand what you're saying, so, and we're trying, I do, believe me.
Please, let's keep this, keep this down. This is a workshop. Everybody has the right to their opinions, but we don't need to be jumping on each other. Okay, we're trying to get down to the facts. If the facts haven't been provided to whether this board or boards before, like they're saying, Jerry had mentioned something about 2021, 22, and 23. Where has everything gone? That's what we're trying to figure out. That's why Linda and a couple of the other board members, they're working very, very hard. You don't know the phone calls that have been made day after week, and you don't get a response, don't get a response, and don't get a response.
We're not getting any from you guys either.
Well, we can't give it to you if we're not getting it.
Okay, so you should stop it.
Gotta do something because this, I don't know why things haven't been done in the past. So this board is trying to get things straightened out. Don't come down on us because we're trying to do everything that has to be done, that hasn't been done in the last couple of years.
That's fine, but then don't threaten us either.
Oh, no.
Try to bully us into.
She just threatened us.
Members,
No.
members, please,
That's a threat.
please understand, now,
That's a threat,
we
that's
have
bullying.
three, we
Richard,
have,
that's enough.
okay, we have 3 new board members, please, okay? Now, give us a chance. There were only 4 of us. Now there's 7 of us. Give us a chance
But that
to
doesn't give
get some
anybody
stuff
the
done.
right to
I
threaten
believe
us.
with David Henry, okay, and Jane and Roberta, I think that we are now headed in the right direction. Please give us a chance. Otherwise,
I'm giving you a chance.
what might
Don't threaten us.
what might end up
Don't
happening?
threaten us.
Have I threatened you? Have I
No.
threatened you?
The board did.
Please,
But there's been
calm
threats out
down.
there.
Please
People are afraid to
calm
talk
down.
because they're afraid of retaliation.
Okay,
Still,
It's been that way for a
all
few
right.
years.
I would say, please stop, decorum, all right? And Mr. Kenneth Walls, if you'd like to say what you want to say.
Hello. Okay. Ken Walls, Unit 4. I just got in here, I went outside for a minute to get somebody. But let me ask, who is threatening?
When you tell us that if you don't vote for the raise, you're gonna close things down, that's not a
Oh,
threat,
it's-
that's
well,
also bullying. And another
Yes.
president 4 years ago pulled the same thing.
Let me just say one thing.
Well, you asked
When
me.
you go to Walmart, you can carry out $100 worth of groceries in one hand. You're not getting stronger, it's just prices went up. Prices went up here too, but that's not why I'm up here. Nobody's said anything about the RV compound. You got hurricanes coming in, could be 130, 40 mile an hour wind. You got RVs out there that are big enough to stand their own property. But your boats, your small trailers, they're not anchored down. They're just sitting there. So let's use our head if we're going to think of everything.
Respectfully, board and members, can we move on, please?
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay,
Okay, we'll start with Roberta. Anything that you'd like to say before we close? Catherine?
The only thing I wanted to say is that I've been working with the unit reps and Arlene as far as putting a packet together for the renters, because we have a lot of people that are coming in and the renters are unclear as to what they need to do. So we're working behind the scenes to get packets just for them, because the owners are not being responsible and letting them know what the rules are. So they're screaming at the violations committee when when these things take place. So they're gonna put the packets together, and the unit reps have said that they will make sure that they go in place. And so I thought that that was a really good thing. Unit reps are looking for people, and so is Crime Watch. Crime Watch, the meeting was short and sweet this week because they're out on the beach. Everybody that's anybody is out on the beach patrolling, because the looting and stuff out there has been pretty severe since the last hurricane, and now we're headed to another one. So I just wanted to let everybody know they're both looking for help, and so anything that anybody wants to do, they'd appreciate it. Thank you.
I have one more comment from Jerry Kraft, Unit 1. Why not have Dave Henry work with Linda and get to the bottom of things? He has the experience.
Good comment.
Happy to assist any way I can.
Okay, something too, Catherine, you just mentioned about the renters, I believe?
Yep,
That's the one?
Yep.
Okay, I didn't know whether or not we wanted to do it today or wait, but I'm glad you brought it up, because it is concerns when you do have renters coming in here that they're not aware of the procedures. Sometimes the people that are renting in the homes don't, give them all the details, which is good. Okay, we'll start down the other end. Richard?
All I want to say is, everybody, make sure you take all your loose stuff off your property, put it in your lanais or whatever, wherever you can, all your recyclables and that, put them inside, and that, make sure there's no loose projectile-like stuff for this week when Hurricane Milton comes ashore. Everybody, please stay safe and take care of yourselves. Thank you.
David?
So one of the things that I tend to hear over and over since moving in, retaliation, bullying, harassment, targeting, they're gonna take my home. I'm so sorry that happens here, truly. Never worked anywhere where that's ever been acceptable. We're not gonna start with it. We're gonna put an end to it. So there's ways in which we as a board can work together in the future so things don't sound threatening. I think when Linda is saying we have to, stop spending money, I think what we're saying is, perhaps you can correct me if I'm not speaking correctly on your behalf. I think what we're saying is we have to keep the lights on. We have to keep our payroll on. It's not unusual I'll just say in companies, because this is kind of like a small company. It's not unusual that when you start to run into challenges that you have to sort of freeze spending. It happens all the time. But you never cut off the things that are required. You essential and required. You start to revisit the nice to haves, and we can evaluate those. And I always talk about how it's important to have a plan B when you start talking about how we have to make tough decisions. But at the end of the day, I'm a resident just like you. And my wife enjoys the clubhouse and the pool, and there's ways in which we can evaluate how we come up with a plan B. So I don't think we're trying to threaten anybody, at least that's not my perspective, and it's not who I am as a board member to the community. So I think it's important we try to figure out how to resolve this issue of why people feel they live in fear here, because it's unfortunate, and we can't continue. That's all. And be safe.
Want everybody to be safe through this storm. Prayers are for all of us, that we stay safe, have no major damage, injuries to life. You never know with these storms. I know this morning it was still tracking south, but that could change. And I pray for all the people that it could affect. And beautification's still looking for somebody to help them when they need watering done. It's got a pickup truck that could pull their trailer with their watering machine around for them. So if anybody wants to volunteer in the hot weather to help them, they would greatly appreciate somebody pulling their trailer with their watering apparatus.
A question about that. Would not a SUV is not big enough? Because I'd be glad to do it, but I have an SUV.
If you got a hitch.
I can look into that. I'll look into it. I mean, somebody.
Some SUVs do, some don't.
Yeah. I don't have one now, but I mean, is it possible to get one? I could certainly look into it if nobody else is stepping up. I mean, I'll look into it and see what I can do.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, a golf cart would not do it.
Somebody might.
One cup at a time.
One cup at a time. Well, if they could get somebody to pull that trailer and their watering tank, be a lot easier on them than jugging around 5-6 gallons of water. So they really would like somebody. They've got the trailer and everything. They just need a vehicle to pull it.
Who do I talk to about the trailer, like to find out what the specs are?
It's sitting down in the RV compound.
Okay.
It's just a small trailer
So
with a
we
water
don't
tank
know,
on it.
Like how much it weighs, we don't have a weight. Yeah, but how much is that? I need to know how much that is.
That's about $7 a gallon.
I'm good.
May I say something?
Yes, ma'am. You've got the mic.
Thank you. So at the beginning of the meeting, it was mentioned about the closures, but the admin office was not mentioned. So just wanted to let everybody know that Wednesday, the administration office will be closed due to the storm. And the admin office will be open on Thursday morning, weather permitting, at 10 a.m. 10 a.m., yes, weather permitting. We do plan on being there all day tomorrow, Tuesday, but if it does start to get really bad, windy, crazy, we might close, but we will send an email updating everybody. So if you could just let everybody know, Wednesday definitely closed, Thursday 10 a.m. reopen. And yes, please stay safe, be smart, and don't panic. There's no point in panicking. Thank you.
All right, Vince, also tomorrow, Clubhouse.
Right now, we will have our Monday night show. Tomorrow morning, we will be closing the clubhouse after tonight. All the pro furniture will be moved into the North Hall, and everything all squared away. And depending on the track of the system, if it's coming our way, we board up. If it's going a little way to where the winds won't be so high, we'll still be putting the stuff inside, but we won't be boarding up. But the clubhouse will be closed. It'll be closed Wednesday, and it will reopen sometimes Thursday afternoon around 3 o'clock after we put everything in there and get ready and get set up for the show for Thursday night.
Thank you, Vince. Thank you, Arlene. Thank you, board. And everybody, please.
Members' comments?
But, okay, members' comments. I thought we were hearing them all, but that's okay. We got a few more. That's okay. One more. Or two more, whatever.
Is it working? Thank you, board, for going into what you're going into. And my member's comment is.
Name, unit number.
I'm sorry,
I was
Vivian
gonna say
Blair,
name and phone
unit
number.
4. Want the name of my firstborn too? Anyways, what was I gonna say? I have a question. Did we get a contract with Spectrum? Yes or no?
Yes.
Can we get a copy of that? I feel, this is in my opinion, it should have been posted in News and Views, put up on our bulletin boards, so everybody knows what that contract is.
How it works.
And, right, how it works, what we can use, what we can't use, how long it is, that kind of stuff. That's all I want to ask.
Okay, that contract was from the last board, not this board. Okay, just so you know, that's why we had nothing to do with it.
So just adding on to that.
I'm not laying blame on anybody, I just want information.
Sure.
Because it was said at the last meeting when we asked about using some of the money. Oh, well, we have a contract, we can only use 10% each year. Well, I didn't know that. So
We can
we need
get your
that kind
contract.
of information.
You can
please.
get a copy of that, absolutely.
So all contracts and agreements need to be posted on our website, and we're working on doing that. So all of that in the future will be completely transparent behind a firewall that will require you to log in, set up a username and password. We're working on getting that done. But as of January 1st, legally, we have to have that done. We hope to do so beforehand.
Okay.
Seeing how Jerry Foster Unit 2, seeing how Vivian brought up the Spectrum contract, I'm gonna bring it up again as well. When you look at the financial statements on the website for the month of May, June, and July, those figures for Spectrum only add up to $889,000. My question is gonna be, that check was for $990,000. Where's that $100,000 at? And that is one of the reasons why we do need to have an audit, because it's showing on those statements that money, we know that money's supposed to be in reserves. That money is not assigned a line item. So is it gonna stay the next 4 years at whatever it is because it's not assigned a line item? Because my understanding on this budget, I know you've got one, I've seen it, that there's usually a carryover on the budget, an estimated carryover from the previous year that takes up the reserves, that reserve amount. On your budget, I think it says $45,000 for the interest on the CDs, but it doesn't take into account the Spectrum money. So if you took into account the Spectrum money, even if it's not the $999, if it's minus the commission and the taxes, it's still $660,000 because that's what you mentioned. So That carries over to next year. So that would mean that covers the 545.64. It would cover that. So that money does not need to be in there to fully fund the reserves.
It's not in the reserve.
It has to be. It has to be. The spectrum money has to be in the reserves.
No,
Where is it then?
it's in CDs. It's operating. You can't put that in reserves. That's not a reserve fund. It's just called the Spectrum Fund.
So it's in, okay, so it's in the operating fund. See, now you're mixing it up now, because.
Nobody ever said it was in
Wait a minute,
reserves.
wait a minute. Okay, if it's in the operating fund, then that means on this budget that the 1.3 million or whatever it is for the operating doesn't take into account that, because that money's not minus off nowhere. Giving credit for that spectrum money.
They gave credit for 64,000. It works out 64,000 some odd dollars over the 10 years.
Yeah, what line item? I would like to know that, so it's Andy's here. So,
I don't have it in front of me.
because when we add it up, I look at it, I don't see $120,000 difference just in the administrative fund. I don't see it. The only figure that I know looks high in there is the insurance. Went from about 70,000 up to 110.
Yeah. How much did your insurance go up?
I know that, but I'm saying, how can you, I didn't go line by line, but the administrative part of that budget says for something in 2023 or whatever it is, and now it's saying over $100,000 more. When the only line that went up extensively is the insurance, only 40,000. So where's the other 70,000 at? Because there's not enough lines there for it to go up $1,000 each. There's not 70 other lines there. And also, speaking of the budget, it has the forensic audit part in the budget. That description of what the forensic audit does tells no pros. It's all strictly cons. I want to know who authorized that and why it was wrote that way.
I didn't, because I was shocked when I saw it.
Because everybody I've talked to says that's an intimidation factor of getting people to not vote for the forensic audit, because that primarily does the cost and not the benefits. It should have never been in there.
I agree. I was not aware of it until I got mine in the mail.
Somebody
Wasn't me.
Somebody put it in there, I wrote it.
Did it come from you, Arlene? Did
fault?
you write it?
I wrote it, yes, I wrote it, I did not mean it as an intimidation, I simply meant it as an explanation. I did, after it was all done, I did give a copy to Millie, but I can, if you wish, put out another email, that gives pros and cons for clarification, but in no way did I mean it as an intimidation. Actually, what I did was I did Google, what is a forensic audit? I went on a few different websites that have pricing, and that was the general pricing they have. But I can certainly do a pro, as you say. So I apologize, I didn't mean to intimidate anybody, but that's just what I wrote. So I take responsibility. But I can make it right.
Thank you.
The
Okay.
difficulty with that is that the fact that it's on the ballot now, and so people are actually looking at that and they're not wanting to, they're either not going to understand what that's talking about, or they're gonna look at the price points and think, okay, so we're going up $4, we're gonna have to go up another $4, we're gonna keep going up. People are scared to death of spending that money, so instead of looking at any kind of a benefit, which was not outlined, it was all negative. So I'm thinking that that's an issue to be on the ballot, period, because of what was written on there. So I don't know how they rectify that.
I do think we need to figure out how to articulate the pros and the cons of a forensic audit.
Get a complete price, because you can't go by maybe this.
Yeah, we won't have a complete price unless we sort of do some further research. And I think there's also another issue we need to deal with on sort of the first page of the budget. Those numbers don't add up right, so we've got to figure out how to correct that as well. So there's some work we need to do to get that corrected and get notification out to the residents. Because you could look at this as being a $55 fee versus a $54, depending on how you want to add the math. So we need to make those corrections. So it seems like there's more forthcoming communication coming quickly to figure out how to address this. I don't have the answer momentarily.
I think Arlene's gonna send out an email. I talked to the person that typed this up this morning in his Excel, and he doesn't know why his Excel did not deduct the 45.5 that should have been deducted.
So the difficulty with that is that, again, the budget has misprinted information, and we have explanations without justification of the good things with a forensic audit on. So is any of this any good to be out there to the residents? Is it all null and void, and we should just start back fresh?
Can I just say one thing? If you're gonna make the correction and send emails, not everybody gets emails, because it has to be mailed out, just like the ballots one.
Correct. So there's going to be a timeline that we need to evaluate pretty quickly to figure out how we stay within the time. But we do need to make sure these figures are accurate. And I know Linda is working on getting me the Excel file for all these figures, so I can maybe put another set of eyes on these, just to make sure if there's any other errors, we need to catch it before we send out any more communications.
I have one more.
Yeah, that's why I'm looking for the Excel file. I can sort of help come up with another check file to make sure that there's any errors, we can address that all at one time.
I have one more comment. In 21, when we had the auditor, and I know I didn't say it already, but I'll say it one more time, that when he was describing the audit and stuff, and the money and stuff, he made the comment, and I already said that it started out, the year 2020 started out at $480,000, and at the end of it, it was 320. So that money's carried over. Every time we don't spend money on something on reserves, that money gets carried over. If we don't spend it on, let's say, administrative costs, like on the administrative side of it, that money gets carried over. We don't use $10,000 for, say, the attorney or whatever. That line, that first page that you're talking about, has no estimated income carryover. So that's another question why people's going to ask, well, why should we go up $4? Because we may be carrying over, let's say, $125,000. So that needs to be, should have been explained as well, why that line was left blank.
Okay, if there's nothing else, I'm going to make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much for coming out, and please be safe and stay home. Please stay home. You got enough food.